Hi there, this is David, and I have some exciting news for some Final Fantasy VI fans out there like myself. That game is one of my favorite games of all time. I remember getting it when I was in middle school and playing it all day long. I loved the game. I gave myself different challenges. I went through it with natural magic. I went through it by only limiting certain magicite. I went through it so many different ways to give myself different ways to play the game and to challenge myself. Then I got into the ROM hacking community, and I've played through a lot of different Final Fantasy VI hacks as well, but there's always been one hack that is above the rest. One exclusive hack that Westerners couldn't get their hands on because it was created in Japan and it was only in Japanese. This is called Final Fantasy VI T Edition, and it has finally been translated into English, so all of us out there can play it. I had a chance to go through and play Final Fantasy VI up until about the South Figaro area just to see all the various changes. There is a README in the document as well, and you can really see tons of changes. So let me just go through my experience with this hack. Starting off, the first thing that I noticed was that all your character sprites look just a little bit different, and you can now sprint using just the B button without having to use the sprint shoes. All of the bosses are harder, including the Welk fight, and there's also just a little bit of AI differences too, just to mix things up. The enemies themselves are also harder, but they are balanced. Everything is kind of a little bit up in difficulty, but it's not unfair. Also, whenever you're opening up treasure chests, each character has their own different treasure message. You're going to hear different things from Locke or Terra or Edgar. There's also different costumes to be had for each character, along with different stats that you can go through and collect. Speaking of collections, at the beginner's house in Narshi, there's a whole new room that essentially has achievements. There are all sorts of different things that you can do, and the game lists exactly what you can do in order to get these achievements if you do care about that. But if you're a huge Final Fantasy VI fan like I am, and you're into modern day achievements, this is right up your alley. There's also different portraits that you can collect of the various characters, and speaking of the characters, they have all been rebalanced. I know that one big thing in Final Fantasy VI was that a lot of characters were really good, like the Figaro brothers, and some characters, like Amaro, weren't all that hot. But now they've all been rebalanced, so they are all useful. The game itself is pretty much par the course. It's the same Final Fantasy VI that you know and love, but there are little teeny tiny differences that just make it special. For example, one that I came into was whenever you're running away from Kefka at Figaro, it happens in the dead of night. Edgar jumps out of bed, it's dark, they say what happens, and you even fight the Magitek soldiers at night. Every single time that you come into a town and there's a bartender there, they will have various quests that you can do. And this is one of the biggest changes of the game at all. The first quest that I saw in South Figaro was called Clearing the Cave Monsters. And then you accepted the quest, and then you got warped into South Figaro Cave, and there were no random encounters, but there was those, like, little dogs on screen, and then you would fight them. And once you cleared them all, and once you cleared the boss monster there, then that quest was cleared, and then you received quest rewards. Another great thing about that was that the music was just superb. The music was completely different than any music I had ever heard in Final Fantasy VI. However, it fit it so well. You can do those pub quests as many times as you want to if you want to grind or if you want to get extra items or things like that. That would really help you, especially with the added difficulty. Another thing that I noticed was that the vast majority of the treasure chests that you found in the caves were new treasure chests. or new items such as a chain whip that was found in the rich man's house basement over in South Figaro. That was not in the original game. That looked really neat. And speaking of which, all the items have like their own little item icons next to them. It's really nice. The Narshi mines also have different music, so there's dozens of new music tracks to be had, new events, new quests, new bosses, new enemies, rebalanced characters, tons of bugs fixes, a retranslation. We got great new features, alternate costumes, alternate stats, neat homages to other Square games, and this mod is so big that it actually comes in 2 different parts. There's the regular game, but then whenever you get towards the end of that game and you kill Ultima, there is another patch that you can apply to the ROM, which is the EX patch. And essentially that is the super difficult post-game DLC patch. And that's going to give you the ability to fight major bosses from other Final Fantasy games, do more collections, get more portraits, and do even more achievements. This is the patch that keeps on giving. There is a reason why this is the most popular Final Fantasy VI patch in Japan, and now we can finally play this. We can see this for ourselves, and I am thrilled about this. I know that whenever I was a kid, the time before Christmas, it was always hard for me because I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to getting something on Christmas morning, but like, my parents wouldn't buy me anything because they were like, oh, it's too close to Christmas, you have to wait. So I was like, oh, I have all these games, but I got them back in summer and there's nothing new to play. So it was always hard for me around like November, December to kind of find games to play, but this would be a great game to play over this Christmas time, over the next couple of months while we are waiting for the holidays to come and hit. I, for one, am thrilled about it. I cannot wait to play even more of it, and I will more than likely be streaming this on Twitch whenever I'm done with Final Fantasy V Pixel Remastered as well. So I do hope that you guys can join me there. Let me know what you guys think about this patch. All of the different changes have been listed in the README, so there's essentially a guide in the README that you can look at that talks about all the differences that you'll see in this game. It just looks amazing. So it basically so there won't be any running around, looking around, trying to find things, because it's all listed right there in the patch for you. So you can see every little last detail that has been changed. Hope you guys enjoy this and have a good day.